Hello guys, welcome to another episode of The Distinguished Geek. So, we're almost 10 years into Marvel's life, and it's been a roller coaster of a ride, but it's only about to get rockier. This is 1949. So by the end of the decade, the reaction from the general public towards comic books became hostile. Not only were the comics considered to be inferior to literature, but also considered to be one of the causes to juvenile offenders. It came to a point that engulfed such an outrage that house-to-house comic book collections took place, and the comics were publicly burnt in communities throughout America. The man that influenced all this anger was a psychiatrist called Dr. Frederick Wortham, and he first wrote about his comics in the Saturday Review of Literature in 1948. Now, Marvel ran an editorial in its comics in May 1949 and focused on Dr. Wortham and his piece that he wrote in the Saturday Review. And the editorial pointed out almost all kids of any kind read comic books, but naturally the juvenile offenders would be reading comics too. They also went on to say that why not give credit to the comics for the good influence they've had on millions of healthy kids, instead of just blaming the comics on a handful of juvenile offenders. It would be nice to say that this was the end of the ordeal, but that would be too easy. In the 1950s, Dr. Wortham would continue with his anti-comic campaign, and it got to the point that Congress started to investigate the comic books, and the American comic book industry saw its darkest and scariest period so far. Sadly, the original Human Torch came to an end with his final appearance in his comic book with issue number 35. But don't worry, he hasn't gone far. He will return in the anthology comic Young Men in December 1953. Now, continuing on with final appearances, the Blonde Phantom also lost her comic book with issue number 22. She would return, but not until the 1980s with a modern age Blonde Phantom. So with the end of the Human Torch with issue number 35, in March, Marvel launched a new comic book on the back of the Human Torch 2 months later. Now, peculiarly, they continued on from where the Human Torch finished off, starting with issue number 36 with Love Tales. The comic ran for 8 years, finally coming to an end with issue number 75 in September 1957. Now, if you thought that was odd, even stranger, Marvel brought back the Human Torch comic book in April 1954, starting with issue number 36, where it left off 5 years prior. But it was cancelled indefinitely with issue number 38 in August. Now, if you're getting a little bit confused on what's going on, I'm not finished. So, in 1975, it came to light that the android of the Human Torch was transformed into the Second Vision. Now, if you're not familiar with who the Vision is, here he is. And if you're not familiar with the artwork, then you may remember him from the Avengers The Age of Ultron movie, played by Paul Bettany. Here he is as the Vision and out of character. I feel like I'm focusing a bit too much on this, aren't I? Yes, you're all saying. Point taken. Moving on. In June, Bill Everett's Namor the Submariner ended its run by returning to the beginning with its origin story that was written with issue number 1 10 years before. And so in its final issue, number 32, it showed the retelling of the original story. And so in issue number 33 in August, Marvel launched the new romance comic Best Love, to be added to the new genre that Marvel was trending to. So in October, Marvel combined two of the new genres, romance and westerns, starting with Cowboy Romances issue 1, followed by Romances of the West issue number 1 in November, Rangeland Love issue number 1 in December, and Western Life Romances issue 1, also in December 1949. So the end of the road had come for the first superheroes that Marvel released 10 years prior. It's such a shock to see that Marvel's big three, Captain America, the Human Torch and the Submariner, were facing the axe. It's so hard to believe that how popular these characters are today, that back in 1949 the popularity had fallen so far that Marvel had changed Captain America comics into a horror series with Captain America Weird Tales issue number 74. Now if this wasn't bad enough, the cover, Weird Tales, dwarfed Captain America's name, and the cover art hid Captain America's face. The story inside featured Captain America descending to hell to fight the Red Skull. Now in the final issue of Captain America Weird Tales, issue number 75 in February 1950, Captain America's name was still on the front cover, but Captain America was nowhere to be seen on the cover itself or in the interior art. It was such a horrible ending to Marvel's best superhero. He was the last one standing out of the big three. Both the Human Torch and the Submariner ended in the first part of 1949, and it would take a miracle to make the superheroes popular again. That miracle wouldn't come for another 12 years. Well, that was a bit depressing, and unfortunately last week's question wasn't really any better. So last week's question was, which pacifist campaigner was assassinated in 1948? And the correct answer was Mahatma Gandhi. And he was shot dead by a Hindu militant called Natram Godse, or Gods. I have no idea if I've pronounced that correctly, so I do apologise. Please feel free to leave a comment or message me with the correct pronunciation if you wish. Right, so this week's question, just for fun, is what did Queen Juliana of the Netherlands grant in 1949? And I'll leave you with that one till next week. Right, thank you much again for watching. Please feel free to leave me a comment and let me know how you felt the video was. And as always, please like, share and subscribe so you don't miss another episode. Brilliant guys, well have a great week, and I'll see you next week with the big 5-0. See you next week, bye bye.
The